Hello YouTubers, this is Cessnaace back again with another 10 video ads video, this time concentrating on the DVD format. Over the past couple of weeks I've picked up some DVDs out at the flea market, and I've been receiving a number of packages of DVDs from various sellers on eBay, Amazon, as well as packages from Alpha Video, Warner Archive, Sinister Cinema. And it just so happens that I'm going to be showing these in alphanumerical order. It just so happens that the top one is from Sinister Cinema. I've been a customer of Sinister Cinemas for a long time, well over 20 years. And back when I first became a customer of Sinister Cinemas, they supported two video formats, VHS and Betamax. They are currently supporting DVD-R and VHS, although they've let it be known that once their supplies of VHS cases and tapes and so forth runs out, they will be out of the VHS business. Now, in a recent issue of Film Facts magazine, they interviewed Greg Luce, who is the founder and proprietor of Sinister Cinema. And one of the topics that came up was the addition of this genre. Back when I first started buying videos from Sinister Cinema, they carried science fiction, fantasy, horror, murder mysteries, espionage, thrillers, and J.D. Schlock. That would be juvenile delinquency. Anyway, then they started carrying obscure westerns, which in their catalog is under the heading of Sinister Six Guns. And they asked him why he started covering or carrying or releasing obscure westerns. And he mentioned that he had gotten a call from another film buff saying, you're going to start releasing obscure westerns. Turns out another film buff who had a large collection of 16mm and 35mm film prints of obscure westerns had passed away, and this other film buff had acquired all of these prints. Sinister Cinema maintains their own prints. They do their own video transfers, and lately they've been selling a lot of their older prints. But anyway, they started carrying obscure westerns. Bob Steele, Ken Maynard, Buck Jones, early John Wayne films, Hopalong Cassidy, among others. 3 on the Trail. You may notice that the cast includes Gabby Hayes. If you're not familiar with Gabby Hayes, he was in a lot of westerns, and the same could be said of Walter Brennan, who was in a couple of memorable John Wayne films, including Rio Bravo and Red River and so forth. Gabby Hayes and Walter Brennan played very similar characters. In fact, Gabby Hayes also appeared in a couple of John Wayne's films. So my daughter's been messing with this computer again, and she's got the screensaver to turn on every 2 minutes or whatever it is, so I keep having to jiggle the mouse. This one's from Sinister Cinema. It is a thriller, espionage type film. I believe it's a French-German co-production. I know the German part is right anyway. It's called 13 Days to Die. This version is English dubbed. The English dubbing, as is usually the case with foreign films, or rather laughable in places. The best that I can say about this film is I've seen worse. That doesn't exactly sound like, well, I guess you would call it faint praise. This next film is one I saw on Turner Classic Movies. I tend to say that a lot in videos. I saw this on Turner Classic Movies. Well, I do watch a lot of Turner Classic Movies. And they were running a marathon of films starring Rod Taylor, or featuring Rod Taylor in the cast. And he is featured prominently in the cast in this film, along with James Garner and Eva Marie Saint. And there was a surprise near the end of the film which caught me off guard. It takes place during World War II, and it's called 36 Hours. Of course, even though I'd recently seen it on Turner Classic Movies, as soon as I got this DVD, I opened it up and watched it. Basically, James Garner plays a character who is one of the few people who knows the time, date, and landing place plan for the D-Day invasion during World War II. The Germans are expecting that they will cross where there's the least amount of water to cross. So they're rather taken by surprise when they hear that it's going to be Normandy. They set up a very elaborate scheme to get information, which was actually done back then. That is, they set up a fake American hospital in Germany with American flags and this, that, and everything all over the place, and everybody speaking English, and they drug him just prior to the invasion, and the scientist who is trying to get this information and using these means of getting information is played by Rod Taylor, who makes it obvious, his character does, he has no love for Nazis. Really, really good film, and what took me by surprise at the end was, I think his name was John Banner. Anyway, he played Schultz on Hogan's Heroes, and he plays a German guard, home guard, I guess you could say. The character is very similar to the character he played on Hogan's Heroes. Anyway, highly recommend 36 Hours if you haven't seen it. Check it out. Added another ABBA documentary to my collection. This one is called Super Troopers, a celebratory film from Waterloo to Mamma Mia, 30 Years of Music. That's not its full title. But there are included in here some rather obscure performances. Super Trooper, you're going to know, and Gimme Gimme Gimme, you're going to know, Vooley Voo, you're going to know. I'm a Marionette, I only knew about that one because I'd seen it on YouTube. Mamma Mia, of course. I Have a Dream, may not be familiar with. People Need Love, may not be familiar with that one because it's technically not an ABBA song, or is it? It was written by the two songwriters of ABBA, Benny and Björn, and it was sung by Benny and Björn. And the two female leads of ABBA, Agnetha and Frida, sang it in it as well. But they were singing the female counterpoint. The Benny and Björn were singing the leads, and that song was actually, I was surprised to learn, released in the U.S. The group's name was not listed on the record as being ABBA, but rather Benny and Björn. And it had very small distribution in the U.S. It was released here by Playboy Records, and they just did not have the distribution that, say, A&M or Atlantic or RCA Records or any of the majors had. But it did manage to make it all the way up to, I think it was 114 on the US chart. Anyway, there's that. And there goes that screensaver again. This is really recommended for ABBA buffs. You could also call it ABBA, or rather deconstructing ABBA. There are 3 DVDs. They go through ABBA's songs one by one, and they interview musicologists, music producers, singers, songwriters, musicians, even members of the ABBA tribute group, Björn again. They go through each song and they deconstruct it and basically tell you why it was a hit. Something just flew out of the case. Okay, don't know what that was doing in there. First one being ABBA, A Critical Review, 1973 to 1976. Of course, they burst on the scene when they won the Eurovision Song Contest in '74. This runs 70 minutes. And then there's ABBA, A Critical Review, 1977 to 82. 82 being the year ABBA broke up. That runs 70 minutes. And then ABBA in Performance, which runs 58 minutes. You might think, well, this is some of their performances. Well, it's more in keeping with the previous 2 DVDs in the set in that they deconstruct their performances, their live performances, to give you insight into the group. And something I knew, but I found interesting that they talked about it nonetheless, was that the 2 female leads, Agnetha and Frida, had enormous vocal range. One of the singers they talked to mentioned that she has a 2.5 octave range, which is pretty good. She cannot sing Dancing Queen the way the girls in ABBA could, because you start where you think you should start as far as how high to sing. You start where you think you should start, and then you get to that point where it says, and you can dance, and it's like, try hitting that. It sounds easy when ABBA does it, but you try doing it. Okay. The Big Trees with Kirk Douglas. Also in the cast of this is Alan Hale Jr., who you may know if you're familiar with Gilligan's Island. He played the skipper. And his father, Alan Hale Sr., looked just like him. And he was a character actor. He was in a lot of films of 40s and 50s. The Fall Before Paradise. Early Jackie Chan. Fearless Hyena. Hong Kong double feature, Land of the Brave and Four Robbers. And one thing you gotta know when trying to catalog Hong Kong films is it ain't easy. because on some prints you're going to find the Cantonese version of the actors and directors' names. On some prints you're going to find the Mandarin, Cantonese, and also the anglicized version of their name, which usually they allow the actor to pick out on their own. Big Moon Lee fan, but some of the English language prints that are out there of her films, most are she's billed as Moon Lee, but some she's billed as Mona Lee. Same with Michelle Yeoh. There's some films where she's credited as Michelle Kwan. And finally, The Man in the Iron Mask. And I just heard the disc shift on the inside, which is never good. And let's see here. There was delivery at the front door this morning. Package from Japan. Come figure out what's in it. Actually, there were 2 packages out there from Japan. Okay, and I've got more of what's in these packages coming. Until next time, stay awesome.